Going on, Knicks Nation? What's going on? This is Eddie C, Basketball Zombie, coming at you with another show. I want to thank you for coming and joining me, spending some time listening to some Knicks content. Today, we're going to be talking about Tom Thibodeau and the heir apparent in some people's eyes, Johnny Bryant. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming and joining me. It's been fun having these last few shows. Just the beginning of the Basketball Zombies journey. In the YouTube and the Knicks content world. So I just want to thank you guys for coming in and showing your gratitude and commenting and your likes and everything that you guys do. Just keeps me motivated and wanting me to do more. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm giving you content until the season comes along. It's going to be a month or so before we see a preseason game. So, we got us as content creators has to think of ways to keep you guys engaged, keep you guys hungry with this Knicks content that you guys, crave for all the time, me, myself included. So I want to start talking about, I said in my thumbnail, Tom Thibodeau is out. I want to talk about this Tom Thibodeau, Johnny Bryant. Would you want to say controversy? Would you like to say any word that any adjective that you could think about between Tom Thibodeau and Johnny Bryant? Well, I'm here to dispel that notion, me, Eddie C, the Basketball Zombie, of it ever being a thing. We just got Tom Thibodeau last year, right? We just got Tom Thibodeau last year, and he won Coach of the Year, right? Didn't Tom Thibodeau win Coach of the Year last year? I know it's not unprecedented that you win Coach of the Year in basketball, and you can probably be out of a job the next year. It happened in Toronto, I believe, recently, where the coach there, who's now in Detroit, won Coach of the Year, and he was ousted the next year for Nick Nurse. We already know what happens there. Toronto Raptors make the trade for Kawhi Leonard. They win the championship. Nick Nurse wins a championship in his first year as a coach. So this is, not something that is unprecedented in NBA circles. I don't think in any other sport either. Just because you win Coach of the Year doesn't mean that you're not going to be out of a job next year. But I'm here to dispel the notion that Johnny Bryant is going to be the next coach anytime in the next few years. I'm even going to go on the limb and say that Johnny Bryant might not be here in the next couple of years because he has found a head coaching job, be it in the college ranks or be it in the NBA ranks. You never know. I'm leaning towards more college ranks than NBA ranks, but I'm leaning towards Johnny Bryant getting a job in the college ranks within the next couple of years and us not having Johnny Bryant on the bench. So, again, the thumbnail reads Tom Thibodeau out, but me, Eddie C, I think that Tom Thibodeau is here to stay for the long haul, be it the next 5 years, be it the next 10 years, or as many years as he can or as he wants to coach the New York Knicks team. And I think he's the man for the job. I think he's a perfect player. He's a perfect coach for the players. And there's no doubt about it in my mind that Tom Thibodeau is going to do an excellent job from here on out, from starting last year to when he decides to retire from basketball. I'll even go as far enough to say that Tom Thibodeau is going to win us a championship. Tom Thibodeau is going to be the coach when the New York Knicks win the championship. Hopefully within the next 5 years. I'm banking on that. I'm hoping that happens. I know you guys hope that happens as well. But yeah, I think Tom Thibodeau is here to stay. I don't think Tom Thibodeau has to look over his shoulder. I don't think Tom Thibodeau is afraid of Johnny Bryant, and vice versa. I don't think Johnny Bryant thinks that he's going to be able to take Tom Thibodeau's job, especially after winning Coach of the Year last year, doing all the things that he did with his team, reeling in Julius Randle, Julius Randle, before he got Tom Thibodeau, had so much potential in so many areas of basketball, right? But I know you guys have heard the phrase of honing in a caged animal, or honing in a wild horse, per se. Tom Thibodeau was able to do that with Julius Randle, where he had so much potential, but he needed somebody to mold him in the right way, to train him the right way, to teach him the right way, so that Julius Randle could become the all-star player that he did last year. So, that's one of Tom Thibodeau's major qualities, where he can get somebody's attention and he can turn somebody's potential into basketball prowess on the court, right? I believe he did the same thing with Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, at the beginning of the year last year, there were a few rifts between Tom Thibodeau and Mitchell Robinson. Could be because of maturity. It could be whatever the case was, right? That we have no idea it could be. Tom Thibodeau had some reservations about Mitchell Robinson, and I think he let Mitchell Robinson know this. He told Mitchell Robinson that he was having problems with his maturity. He was having problems with his professionalism. He was having problems with Mitchell Robinson as a player. And maybe at the beginning, Mitchell Robinson really didn't take heed to that, really didn't think he needed to change anything or anything of that nature. But come to find out, as the time went by, Mitchell Robinson understood the hierarchy, who was in charge, all right? Who was going to be making the decisions, who was the person that he should be listening to, and Mitchell Robinson fell right into place. He was having a great, phenomenal year before he got injured. He had a finger injury. It was a freak injury that he hit. He hit Julius Randle's elbow, and I think broke his finger. And then we all know the Lisfranc injury that he had on his foot, where he stepped wrong playing against Brook Lopez and injured his foot, basically ending his season last year and the playoffs. So before this, though, Mitchell Robinson was making great strides. I don't think the numbers can show you how much strides Mitchell Robinson was making, because in actuality, and in my basketball knowledge, the numbers doesn't always show you what a player's impact is on the basketball court, right? I believe his blocks numbers were down. He had some down numbers, but you can see that he was able to stay on the floor a little longer. He was able to take information that was given to them by the coaches, schemes. He was able to put those out on the floor, and therefore he had better performances on the floor as a team player than as a personal or just a player for himself, points, average, rebounds, assists, so on, and blocks, so on and so forth. So I think there's a difference between sometimes a player's numbers and what he does and how he portrays himself on the basketball court, what he does for his team on the basketball court. Those are very important things that we have to take heed when we look and evaluate certain players. Sometimes it's not just all the numbers. It's not, it's more what they do on the court, right? Because I'll give you an example. Let's say Donovan Mitchell has the ball at the top of the key, right? And he's guarded by Kemba Walker at that point, right? Just put a theoretical scenario out there. So Donovan Mitchell has the ball at the top of the key, and Kemba Walker is guarding Donovan Mitchell, right? Donovan Mitchell gets into his move, boom, 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 and he gets by Kemba Walker. We all know Kemba Walker is probably not the best one-on-one defender. Tries his best, but he's not the best one-on-one defender. So he gets by Kemba Walker, right? But the scheme is, if you're going to let somebody get by you, Kemba Walker, you have to force him this way. It could be left, it could be right, whatever the scheme is that Tom Thibodeau wants you to do. So Kemba Walker gets by him. Mitchell Robinson comes off of his man, right? Because Kemba Walker is beat. Donovan Mitchell's coming down the lane for a layup. Mitchell Robinson comes off of his man. Julius Randle slides a little bit. Donovan Mitchell thinks he has an open lane, so he goes and he takes a contested layup over Mitchell Robinson's long stretched arms, right? At that point in time, Mitchell Robinson did not get the block. All Mitchell Robinson did was switched up on Kemba Walker's man because Kemba Walker got beat, right? Donovan Mitchell was not able to get the layup because the defender was in his face. He didn't really allow him to get a clean look at the shot. So Donovan Mitchell misses the shot, and Julius Randle's on the other side cleaning up the board. Okay, so now the Knicks have the basketball. They give the ball back to Kemba Walker, and they start their offense on the other side of the court. So what happened in that instance? Really, nothing happened. The only statistic that happened in that whole sequence was Julius Randle grabbing a rebound. Okay, that was the only statistic that happened. I mean, you could say the other statistics on one-on-one defense, because everybody has statistics for everything. If a player gets beat, if contested shots, this and that. But when it comes down to like things that us regular fans look at, blocks, rebounds, assists, the only statistic that came out of that play was a Julius Randle rebound. So, but the difference was that Mitchell Robinson made that happen, right? That's the difference between having a statistic and your prowess on the court. Because if Mitchell Robinson is not there, Mitchell Robinson doesn't take off his man, probably Donovan Mitchell goes down the lane and gets a dunk or gets a little layup, and we're going down the court down 2 points. So that's the difference. That's what I'm talking about when I say, points, rebounds, blocks doesn't always matter. I know there's statistics for every little thing now in the NBA. Everything has a little statistic, but the major statistics, the rebounds, the points, the blocks, the assist, all these things right there, those don't get added into every sequence of every play in the NBA game. But very importantly, you cannot miss the point that Mitchell Robinson was the reason why those 2 points didn't count. So that's what I'm trying to say when I say his importance on the court, the scheme on the court that was drawn up by Tom Thibodeau, what Julius Randle had to do, how Kemba Walker had to defend. He was getting beat. He had to slide his man towards this way because that's the way the scheme is built. So all these things are super, super important when we're talking about a player, a scheme, and everything. And Tom Thibodeau is at the head of that situation. So when finally Mitchell Robinson understood that he was the head dog in charge, I think Mitchell Robinson started, toning it down a little bit, started getting more serious about his basketball game, started to be a little bit more professional. And that's super, super important when it comes to NBA organizational success and the success that we had last year. A lot of that success was because of the way Tom Thibodeau taught these kids how to act, professionalism, how to work hard. If he's working hard, they're working hard. Julius Randle a number of times said that Julius Randle was in the court last, and Tom Thibodeau was still up in his office, looking at tape. Okay, there's a lot of things that could be said about Tom Thibodeau. We've all heard it. Not a married man, doesn't really have family out there. His life is basketball. His life is basketball. You know what I'm saying? And that's, it's a little weird. Don't get me wrong. It's a little weird. But at the same time, isn't it a plus for us that, we're his main focus all the time? The guy's in summer league and he's coaching the game after the game is done. When these kids are tired and they want to go off the court, he's out there calling them over. Hey, why didn't you do this, and this? What's going on? We were supposed to take care of this situation here. What did we talk about this situation here? Why didn't this situation happen? So, it's very important, all these, times that Tom Thibodeau spends with the kids to coach up the kids, with the veterans, to coach up the veterans, to make the veterans the best player they can be. Kemba Walker is going to get put in supreme positions to succeed defensively. We already know about his offensive prowess. We already know Evan Fournier is good for about 15, 16 points a game. You know what I'm saying? We already know Julius Randle is going to probably get us around 22 to 25 points per game. Going to get us around 10 rebounds. Going to get us about 5, 6, 7 assists per game. We already know that. What is he going to do on the defensive end? And that's where Tom Thibodeau comes in, and that's where Tom Thibodeau is so important. So when I hear the New York Knicks fans or whoever, basketball savants, talk about Johnny Bryant, it's right there waiting in the wings. like Johnny Bryant should, basically be the coach in the next couple of years. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. I don't think that's true. I think Johnny Bryant was hired to be exactly what he is, a player development coach. He's an associate coach to Tom Thibodeau. So, he basically comes up and he gives him certain tidbits, players who have fouls, things that he's seen on tape, things that might help Tom Thibodeau. And that's always great to have. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're the head coach or just because you're the head guy or you're the boss doesn't mean that you know every single thing. The expression, two heads are better than one, right? So if somebody else sees something that you're not seeing, it's super important to have that person come up to you and tell you, hey, Tom, I think this is something that we should look at, blah, 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 this and that. And Tom Thibodeau, if he's a smart guy, he'll probably listen to it. And then he'll assess if he needs to do that or if he doesn't need to do that. But to come out and say that Tom Thibodeau is looking over his shoulders or Tom Thibodeau in the next couple of years is not going to be the coach here anymore, I think is blasphemous. You know what I'm saying? I think this guy has done a hell of a job. He's going to continue to do a great job with whatever pieces that the New York Knicks give him, especially in the future where I think, we're definitely going to be a team to look out for when it comes to superstar players wanting to play here, building the team, having a better squad than what we've had. I mean, they've done a phenomenal job. The front office has done a phenomenal job. Leon Rose, Worldwide Wesley, Brock Aller, who's one of my favorites. There's nothing that they have done that, cannot say that it wasn't an A+. And it's been a long time since we're able to say that about a Knicks organization. There's a lot of fans out there who are not happy with what they do, and I really, really don't get it. Like, I really, really don't get it because everything that they have done has hit. There hasn't really been one thing that they haven't done that hasn't hit. Elfrid Payton, you can probably say, oh, Elfrid Payton was a bad player. Hey, but when Elfrid Payton played, he played his defense. He didn't show up in the playoffs. He didn't show up at the end of the last year. The kid really can't shoot. The kid, had problems distributing the ball. But defensively, he was one of the better players on our team. Right? They signed a bunch of players last year, and those players were re-signed. So that should show you how much success they had in signing free agents last year. Maybe the one player that they didn't sign that left the team was Reggie Bullock, and now you hear the news about Reggie Bullock. I don't know if that's 100% true or not. I don't know if Reggie Bullock was slighting the New York Knicks. I find it hard to believe that Reggie Bullock was slighting the New York Knicks. I could understand him saying that it was easy in a sense of basketball because now you're going from playing with Elfrid Payton as your point guard and you're a key distributor to playing with Luka Doncic, who is a generational talent, who's going to get you open shots every single time, every single play. The guy is either going to make a shot or he's going to get somebody open. He's a basketball savant. So, when it comes to that sense, I can understand him thinking, yeah, like this is probably the best position for me. This is probably the best place for me, even better than New York. I love New York, this and that. But just to say it was an easy decision because he hated the New York Knicks, I think that's totally bogus. And I think that's when the media, turns. I don't know if clickbait is the right term, but when the media puts something out there, puts a context out there, and you guys think, oh, that Reggie Bullock is slighting the New York Knicks. I don't think that's true, man. I don't think that Reggie Bullock has it in him to say, F the New York Knicks because the New York Knicks did this. The New York Knicks did nothing for him. They upped his value. The New York Knicks were the team that made him get the contract that he did with Dallas. If it wasn't for how he played in New York and the defensive schemes that Tom Thibodeau gave him, his offensive plays, his offensive output, Dallas Mavericks wouldn't even be looking at a player like Reggie Bullock. So to say that Reggie Bullock is coming out of his mouth, that the Knicks, it was easy for me to leave the Knicks because the Knicks were this, and that, I don't think that's true. In a basketball sense, of course, you have to go with a better team. I mean, Porzingis, everybody knows about Porzingis. I'm not going to come out here and talk bad about Porzingis or talk good about Porzingis. He had horrible here last year. His defensive abilities have gone down the tubes. He's really not meshing well with Luka Doncic, but he's still there as part of their core piece. So to have a 7-foot center, a 7'3" center, or a 7'3" power forward, whatever you like to choose, if they want to play him at center or at power forward, and to have Luka Doncic on the other side, in the basketball sense, Reggie Bullock would be crazy not to look at that situation. All he has to do is spot up and shoot. That's what everybody else on the other team has to do. Spot up and shoot. Dorian Finney-Smith, that's what he does, right? Spots up and shoots. Tim Hardaway Jr. spots up and shoots, and it's been beautiful to watch Tim Hardaway Jr. because he does what he does best. I'm gonna put this in the chat just in case anybody wants to pop in, say hello, talk some Knicks. All right, so the link is in the chat. If you guys want to come in and chime in and talk some Knicks with me, man, you're welcome to do so. So again, Tim Hardaway, all he has to do is spot up and shoot. Reggie Bullock, all he has to do is play defense and spot up and shoot. It's going to be a beautiful situation for him. You know what I'm saying? We probably didn't have enough money. We chose probably to have, at this moment in time, somebody who had a little bit more of an offensive repertoire than he did. Why? Because we have a defensive coach who can teach defense to anybody. You know what I'm saying? We can bring in somebody who has defensive deficiencies, and Tom Thibodeau is going to coach him up. So why, if we have somebody that's going to coach up a player, even if he has defensive deficiencies, why are we looking at other guys to come in and be the coach? Because they're younger? Because they taught Damian Lillard how to do a step back, or they taught CJ McCollum how to do this, a certain move? There's a whole bunch of guys that do stuff like that. Drew Hanlon does stuff like that. The other kid that's in the Black Ops that I don't remember his name right now, he does that all the time. He takes players and he shows them how to play, how to do certain things, dribbling drills, shooting drills. You know what I'm saying? But are those coaches? Are those NBA coaches? No, man. Tom Thibodeau is a real NBA coach. So it's ludicrous to say that Tom Thibodeau has to be looking over his back over a Johnny Bryant. I'm not saying that Johnny Bryant is Drew Handler or the other kid that I'm forgetting his name right now, but you know, I go back to what I said before. I think Johnny Bryant in a couple of years is probably going to be looking for a head coaching job in the college ranks. I think that's his future. If he doesn't want to stay with the Knicks long term, if he wants to stay with the Knicks long term, obviously we're going to be welcoming him with open arms. He was one of our handpicked associate coaches, assistant coaches, developmental coaches that we handpicked to come onto the New York Knicks. You know, but the same thing that happened with Mike Woodson, you know, if somebody comes calling and they want to give you a contract for you to be a head coach, everybody wants to be a head coach. But there are only 30 positions in the NBA to be a head coach. And the best top 30 guys are going to be the head coach. And right now, the best guy for the job is Tom Thibodeau. He was handpicked to take this job. Handpicked to take this job. And he won NBA Coach of the Year. Took a bunch of rugrats, a bunch of little rascals, and turned them into the 4th seed in the NBA Eastern Conference. A Julius Randle, who really nobody wanted to sign the year that the Knicks signed him to a 3-year, a 3-year with a 3rd year team option, right? And look what Julius Randle did. Julius Randle signed a good contract, because it was a great contract, right? He signed for, I don't remember what the number is right now, and I don't want to lie, but he signed a contract which was less than what he could have had. And all you can hear about him is, I trust Leon Rose. I trust the organization. I trust the coach. You know what I'm saying? And all that comes from Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is the one that's on the daily talking to Julius Randle, teaching Julius Randle. Is his coach. You guys can't put that to the side and think that's not important. And have to say that somebody else is coming in here and going to take his job. That's 100% ludicrous, man. That's 100% ludicrous. If somebody is going to come next year, if Johnny Bryant is going to take the New York, be the coach of the New York Knicks for next year, you know what? We should all just leave as a New York Knicks fan base, because then the organization has no idea what they're doing. Why would you give up on a coach who just won you Coach of the Year, who's teaching these players, who's a hard-nosed coach, who's in the summer league teaching Emmanuel quickly as soon as he gets off the bench, as soon as he finishes the game, still teaching him? Have you seen any of the other coaches do something like that? Only ours. And we're going to get rid of him for the associate head coach? Why? Because he's younger? Because he looks fancier, I guess, to you guys? Because he, like I say, he taught Damian Lillard a couple of moves. He's Damian Lillard's favorite coach, a developmental coach, might I add. Because even if when he was in the Trailblazers, they just got rid of Terry Stotts. If he was supposed to be, NBA coach material, why didn't the Trailblazers wait for fire Terry Stotts last year and give Johnny Bryant the job? He was in Utah. And he was never going to take that job from Quinn Snyder. But he was in Portland too. He was in Portland too before he was in Utah. So the Portland Trailblazers didn't think of him in that scenario. And Utah definitely didn't think of him in that scenario. Why would the Knicks think of him in that scenario? He's fine just where he is. He's a perfect coach right where he is. He's in the upper echelon of associate coaches right where he is. There is no need for us as New York Knicks fans to ask Tom Thibodeau for a Johnny Bryant. Leave them the way they are. They all can coexist. It's the same thing that I talk about when I talk about you guys saying that Miles McBride is doing so well that we got to trade Emmanuel quickly. Who in their right minds would trade Emmanuel quickly just because Miles McBride had a couple of good games in the summer league? They all can't coexist. McBride can't be the point guard and quickly can't be the shooting guard. No, because we got Grimes, or we have to get rid of one of them. Because there's no such thing as a bench in the NBA. So one of them has to go. You can coexist. Everybody can coexist. There's no need to get rid of players. There's no need to get rid of coaches. There's no need to do any of that. All of this can work as a conglomerate. Everything can work if you just know how to piece these things together. And it's super important that we know this. That we don't run off a cliff just because something nice happens one time. This is somebody, Jericho Sims did a drop step. And I like all these players, man. These guys are my New York Knicks. I want all of them to shine. But Jericho Sims has a drop step and had these amazing alley-oop dunks in the summer league, and now he's going to take Nerlens Noel's job? Come on, guys. Who in their right minds would do that? This kid is a two-way contract player at the moment. He's just coming into the league. Nerlens Noel has been in the league for about 7 years, 26 years old. He knows the ins and the outs. He's suing an agent, for Christ's sake. He's so in deep in the NBA. And we're going to get rid of him because we got Jericho Sims and the shiny new toy. Going to shine the shiny new toy. We're going to put him in. Come on, guys. You guys got to think farther ahead. You guys got to have foresight. You guys have to understand that that's not the way things are. It's super important to know these things as Knicks fans because we're the smartest fans in the world. We've been through it, right? Everybody knows what they're talking about. Do they? It's important to know these things. So when I hear this Johnny Bryant is going to be the coach of the New York Knicks in the next couple of years, dude, Johnny Bryant has no coaching experience. You want to win a championship and we're going to bring in a coach in the next couple of years who's a rookie? Are we going to do the same thing the Toronto Raptors did? That happens once in a lifetime with a supreme player that they got. And if Kawhi Leonard doesn't hit that shot in Philly, who knows if they win the championship? Everything, all the stars aligned for them. It was a beautiful thing for Toronto. Nobody can take that away from them. But to ever say that that's going to happen again, that you're going to put catch lightning in a bottle again, I think to me that's preposterous. To me, that's preposterous to think that we're going to catch lightning in a bottle and we're going to give Johnny Bryant, the coach, the over Tom Thibodeau, for him to be the coach of the New York Knicks over Tom Thibodeau, and we're going to win a championship in the next year or two after that. So, what's going on, 23 Braid? Nick Nurse and Steve Kerr did that, but I agree. Look at their teams. Look at their teams. Look what Tom Thibodeau did with what he had. You can also say that about Steve Nash, right? Brooklyn Nets formed the super team. James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Blake Griffin. They had LaMarcus Aldridge, Jeff Green coming off the bench, and they had a whole bunch of supplemental players. Joe Harris. At that point, they had the kid that they traded to. I forget who it was right now. The kid from Philly. Whole bunch of players. Steve Nash, if he would have been Milwaukee, who knows if they would have won the championship. So can it be done? Yes, it can be done, but it has to be a certain type of team, and the players have to be just right for that to happen. Are you going to chance that? I don't think you got it. I don't think you can chance that. 100%, you got to keep Tom Thibodeau. And I don't think Tom Thibodeau should be looking over his shoulder, and I don't think us as Knicks fans should ever say that Johnny Bryant is going to be the next coach for the Knicks. Because I don't think that's in the cards. I don't think Johnny Bryant will ever be the coach of the New York Knicks. I think he's going to probably be a coach in the collegiate career, in the college ranks within the next couple of years. Because Tom Thibodeau has a stranglehold on this head coaching position. He's doing a phenomenal job, and whoever comes here to New York Knicks is going to come. Part of the reason they come to the New York Knicks is because Tom Thibodeau is the coach. Evan Fournier is a great example of that. Right? When Kemba Walker was in his press conference, they asked the question, and what you got to ask coach. And everybody knows that Tom Thibodeau was so hard-nosed that he could come out with a joke and everybody could laugh because he shouldn't be joking, right? That's why it's so funny. That's why everybody laughs. Because Tom Thibodeau was so hard-nosed. When he does say a joke, it's like, whoa. Did he just make a joke? Our tough-minded coach, our tough-nosed coach, did he just make a joke there? It's got to be funny. And it was funny, man. When they asked Kemba Walker if he's going to be able to play back-to-backs. I don't know. You got to ask coach. You're going to play every game. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Everybody laughs. Why? Because we already know who Tom Thibodeau is. If it would have been any other person, it was probably not that funny. Probably not that funny. But since it was Tom Thibodeau, that joke was funny. So that should tell you a little bit about his aura, his personality, the way he is, how important he is to the team, how important he is to that bench. And again, it's not to say that Johnny Bryant isn't, man, because I think he's super, super important. I think Johnny Bryant is so important that hopefully he sticks around for the next 5 years that Tom Thibodeau is a coach. But most likely somebody's going to take him away from us. Like they did Mike Woodson. Like they're probably going to do with Kenny Payne. Why? Because these guys are pretty elite. You know, we have a pretty good coaching staff. I was actually hoping that we would get Steve Clifford, the guy that was the Orlando coach, and guess where Steve Clifford went? Can anybody guess where Steve Clifford went? Huh? To the Brooklyn Nets. That's another organization that just want to keeps on hitting you with the we're gonna take everybody. We're after everybody. And that's the guy that comes from the San Antonio ranks. That's the smart dude, that the general manager of the Brooklyn Nets. He knows what he's doing. So I hate the Brooklyn Nets. But that's neither here nor there. I'm a Knicks fan, so I hate everybody. I hate everybody. You know, my favorite player is actually LaMelo Ball. I just like his playing style. If LaMelo Ball would have ever been a Knick, man, oh my God, I would have been going crazy, bro. That was my Christmas wish, bucket list wish, any list that you would have wanted. LaMelo Ball in the New York Knicks. But that's not the way things roll. Not the way it happened. He's with the Charlotte Hornets. I'm happy for him. One of my favorite players in the NBA. And I'm not a guy that really has favorite players. Like, I'm not on the LeBron tip, on that Kevin Durant tip. I'm not that type of dude. I don't even have a favorite player on my team. But, something gravitated me towards LaMelo Ball, his basketball IQ, the way he plays, passing ability. I just dig it, man. So there he is. If I could get a jersey, that's probably the jersey that I would get. LaMelo Ball. And with all his offensive prowess and how great he is with the basketball, Tom Thibodeau would have made that kid play so hard on defense. I mean, you could have just imagined a 6'7" point guard with Tom Thibodeau, man. It would have been incredible. And he would have had to play defense. If not, he would have been screamed at like Obi Toppin gets screamed at by Tom Thibodeau. And you think Johnny probably has that cachet where he can go out and scream at Obi Toppin at the top of his lungs and Obi Toppin to take it the same way? Or any player for that matter. I think Tom Thibodeau was probably the only coach that can do those sorts of things. Greg Popovich comes to mind as well. But there are very few coaches who can just flat out yell at you and you won't say a damn thing. You won't say a word. Because their coaching cachet has shown you what they're about. And if you don't fall in line, you're getting put on the next plane to wherever. So, when I came here, I just wanted to talk about Tom Thibodeau, Johnny Bryant, the reasons why I think that Tom Thibodeau is going to be here long term, the reasons why I think Johnny Bryant is not going to be the next coach of the New York Knicks, and the reasons why we should dispel this notion for the New York Knicks. Whoever's watching there, I want to thank you for coming in and joining me for a few. Talking about this Knicks. If you want to come into the chat, I got the link up there. We could chit chat for a little bit. Talk about this New York Knicks talk. Talk about Tom Thibodeau. Talk about Johnny Bryant. The topics are slim, man. The topics are very slim, but we're trying to do the best that we can as content creators and talk about as many things as we can as content creators. And I like to be ahead of the curve. I don't like to be talking about what everybody else is talking about. I like to be talking about my own thing and go from there. But yeah, man, I just wanted to dispel this notion about Johnny Bryant becoming our next coach. Guy has never coached a basketball team in his life. All he's been is a developmental coach. And we're talking about him being the next coach. Like the New York Knicks can never have something and want it for more than 2-3 months. We have to get rid of it as soon as there's something that we don't like. We drafted a player, we got to get rid of him because there's something that we didn't like about the player. Or we had a player in the fold, and we drafted another player. So we like the other player, so now we got to get rid of the one that we had in the fold. We can't have it all. We got to get rid of somebody. Everybody wants to do trades. Sometimes making the trade is not the most smart thing to do. Sometimes when you make the trade, I'm the type of person, you guys play fantasy? I play fantasy, right? And I hate making trades. Every time that I make a trade for another player, I end up losing that trade. But for some reason, if somebody offers me a trade, even if at that moment it doesn't look like it's a fair trade, at the end of the day, I end up winning that trade. Something happens, an injury happens where the player that the guy asked me for gets injured, and now the player that I have is playing well. Something always happens. So it's always not smart to go ahead and make these trades, talking about I need to do this, I need to do that. Mind you, I think Scott Perry is very, very shrewd when it comes to this. That guy has made the best trades that I've seen from a New York Knicks general manager. He's the one that got that Melo trade for us to get Mitchell Robinson. He's the one that I think did the Derrick Rose trade. He did another trade that I don't remember at the moment. Trying to remember. I don't remember at the moment. You know what I'm saying? But we keep on doing these trades, but we don't really get players. We just get assets. We just get like picks. And that's not the worst way to go about it. It's not a player for player, tit for tat type of thing. It's like I want this player for this player. No. We don't do that. We'll give you one of you want this you want Kai Jones? Okay, give me your pick next year. Charlotte. Hopefully Charlotte does well enough where we're able to get that pick next year. It'll probably be around 9. I think it's top 18 protected, so it has to be 19 and 20, something around there. So that means that they have to make the playoffs. Who knows if they're going to make the playoffs, right? Barring injury, I don't know. It's still up in the air. So I think that's that things like that. That those things are important to take into consideration. But I just wanted to stop by, say hello. It's been a couple of days since I came into the live. I want to say hello to my people, to my subscribers, to my followers. I just want to tell you guys, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Please help me grow the channel. How do you do that? You subscribe, you share the channel, you like the videos that I put out, and all that helps, the channel grow and stuff. I'm pretty sure, well, hopefully in the future, I'm going to have better setups. I'm going to have better cameras. I'm going to have better microphones. I'm going to have a better background. But, we're still growing. The Eddie C Basketball Zombie, is still in his infancy stage. It's still growing. But we're going to get there, fellas. We're going to get there, fellas. And the season can't come soon enough. Season can't come soon enough. So with that, I'm going to cut it short today. I just wanted to bring this topic to you guys. Tom Thibodeau, Johnny Bryant, squash it. It ain't going to happen. Johnny Bryant ain't going to be the coach. He's probably going to be coaching in the college ranks some year, in the next couple of years. But, Tom Thibodeau is going to be our coach for the foreseeable future. And we should be happy about that. So with that, I'm going to be out. Thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. Comment on the comment section below. I love reading the comments. I reply to all the comments. And hopefully I'll get you a video pretty soon. Think of another topic to talk about. Probably get a special guest in here so we can go back and forth and chit-chat. But for now, I'm going to be out. Thank you again. This is Eddie C, the Basketball Zombie, talking to you about the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau, Johnny Bryant, and the reasons why Tom Thibodeau is going to be the coach for the foreseeable future, and Johnny Bryant is going to be the associate's coach for the foreseeable future, and that should be the end of that. All right? Eddie C, the Basketball Zombie. We out. Peace. See you later, fellas.